On Monday, September 30, the star of American Pickers, Frank Fritz, passed away. His close friend thinks that he lost his will to live 2 years after suffering a crippling stroke. With friends and family, including Frank's longtime co-star Mike Wolfe, at his side, Frank passed away at the age of 60 in a hospice in Iowa. The U.S. Sun obtained an exclusive interview with Jerry Gendreau, Frank's close friend, in which Gendreau detailed the star's arduous road to recovery after his stroke in July 2022. "He felt really bad," Jerry told the U.S. Son of the late star's antique business, Frank Fritz finds at his bar Hog Dogs in Savannah, Illinois. "When you visited him at the nursing home, you would see that half of his body had been done. His arm would just fall to the ground whenever he raised it." Jerry went into detail on how Frank became frustrated due to his inability to express himself, even if there were much better days compared to others. "It's true what they say, when folks are exhausted, they're exhausted. I believe that if you lack the desire to live, you will not," Jerry said. "If Frank had had the will to live, I believe he could have lived a lot longer." Jerry gushed about his friend's spontaneity, the trait that won over viewers of American Pickers and would be in his memory forever. "He was the comedian who would say the most bizarre and ridiculous things that would make you go, wow," Jerry said. "It was very much as advertised with Frank. It was all his fault. You have no right to criticize others for just being yourself. He was the kind of guy who would stand firm on moral principles. His impact on history cannot be underestimated." In the first images of American Pickers actor Mike Wolfe taken following the loss of co-star Frank Fritz, Wolfe is seen looking dejected outside a guest home in Iowa. An insider had already informed the U.S. Sun about Frank's difficulties in the months before his death. "Ever since the stroke, he's been terrible, and things have only gotten worse. There was a complete paralysis on his right side. Always be there for him. It was absolutely impossible for him to improve." 2 years have passed since Frank's stroke in July 2022 at his home in Iowa. Due to 4 emergency hospitalizations in 2022 and 2023 for pneumonia and a seizure, Frank was unable to make a complete recovery from the stroke. His stays in the hospital rendered him wheelchair-bound, and he subsequently went back to a rehabilitation facility. The source informed the U.S. Sun in August 2023 that, while he is able to walk, he will always use a wheelchair for longer trips. In a nutshell, motion is lost. He became immobile. His right side was the one that was afflicted by the stroke. In August 2022, Frank's closest friends took legal action by requesting a guardianship and conservatorship on his behalf. Frank's guardian was his best buddy Chris Davis, and Midwestone Bank was his conservator. Sources told the U.S. Sun that Mr. Fritz cannot ensure his own safety or provide for basic needs like food, housing, clothes, or medical treatment due to his poor decision-making skills after his stroke. Mr. Fritz is unable to make, discuss, or implement critical choices on his own financial affairs due to his severely compromised decision-making skills. Decisions regarding the care and placement of Mr. Fritz are necessary while he undergoes treatment for his injuries and continues to recover. In order to avoid immediate harm to him, it was determined that a guardian and conservator needed to be appointed. Because Frank required skilled and long-term nursing care in July 2024, conservator Midwestone ordered that Frank's assets be transferred to them. Just weeks after suffering a stroke in August 2022, Frank Fritz was put under guardianship. When it comes to Frank's money, Midwestone Bank is the conservator. To make money, the bank decided to invest Frank's money in collections. His close buddy Chris Davis is serving as the guardian. Among Frank's many responsibilities as a caretaker for his Crohn's condition is accompanying him to and from physical therapy sessions, food shopping, cooking, and other daily activities. Frank Fritz finds, an antique retailer in Iowa, will also get some assistance from the conservatorship to restock its inventory. As part of the conservatorship, his house in Iowa now has a wheelchair ramp and other accessibility features. It is with great sadness that I must inform you all that Frank departed this world last night. Mike, who is 60 years old, made the announcement the morning after his demise on Instagram. Frank has been a friend of mine for over 50 years, and the dreamer I've known, a compassionate comedian who is also hilarious, is exactly what you've seen on television. No matter the setting, Frank could always make people feel loved just by being himself, and that was true both on and off camera. No one could have predicted that we would be riding shotgun in a white cargo van as millions watched our exploits. Before the show, we would take off together to places we never knew existed, with no destination in mind and just the shared passion to discover something interesting and historic. On Wednesday, October 2, the U.S. Sun was able to get exclusive images of Mike, 60, outside of his vacation property in LeClaire, Iowa, his hometown. As he worked intently on the house improvements, Mike looked solemn in the images. Photos of Robbie, Mike's brother and Frank's replacement on the History Channel program, were also acquired by the U.S. Sun. While mingling with clients at his Davenport, Iowa store, United Motors, he also seemed unhappy. In a recent interview with the U.S. Sun, Frank's guardian discussed burial arrangements for the late History Channel personality. In the future, there will be a party honoring life. It is going to be massive. Anyone may come watch. My band is one of many that have shown interest in performing there. The spring is when this is most likely to happen. Speaking about his dear buddy Frank, Chris said, "I will say Frank loved his fans and he passed away peacefully with friends at his side." The years 2010 to 2020 saw Frank's appearances on American Pickers. Frank Fritz, the adored co-host of American Pickers, spent more than 10 years on television, scouring the country for long-lost artifacts and hidden gems. Frank was more than just a reality TV star to his admirers. He was an approachable, likable character whose enthusiasm for the past, antiques, and the people he encountered was contagious. Behind the scenes, however, Frank's life underwent a dramatic transformation after his exit from the program and a severe stroke from which he had a long and difficult rehabilitation. A close friend of Frank's claims that he lost the will to live after the stroke, which exacerbated his really tough recovery and eventually contributed to his death. From his meteoric climb to stardom on American Pickers to the tragic battles he endured in his last months, Frank's story shows the breadth and depth of his personal problems and the devastating effect that disease, loneliness, and a lack of meaning can have on even the strongest individuals. American Pickers. Frank Fritz's breakout role debuted on the History Channel in 2010 and brought him immense fame. Frank and his lifelong companion Mike Wolfe scoured barns, garages, and antique stores around the nation for priceless artifacts of historical value. He was well liked by viewers for his extensive expertise in antiques, as well as his laid-back demeanor and sense of humor. A lot of people liked Frank because he was genuine, he paid close attention to detail, and he was able to strike good bargains while treating people with dignity. Their on-screen connection kept viewers glued to Frank and Mike for more than a decade, solidifying their place in American reality TV. But things started to shift in 2020. After Frank subtly left American Pickers, viewers began to wonder why he was no longer involved. It was said that Frank was coping with health problems at first, but over the years, Frank's health issues have worsened. He was often in agony and exhausted due to his Crohn's disease, an inflammatory disorder that affects the digestive system and is persistent. On several instances, he had to step away from the program due to his struggle with the sickness. Frank acknowledged not just to physical issues, but also to struggling with drinking. In 2020, he took what seemed to be a significant step toward recovery by seeking treatment for his addiction.